this titles 10 times more or less, so write that down as our title. Oops. 10 times more or less. That's the title of today's problem string. What is today's date? Anybody? Anyone? Yes?
9/22/22.
Thank you. So if we have to go back, if I say go check out our problem string from September 22nd, you know where to go. And then we'll write down our first problem. Remember, our problem strings build on one another. Here's our initial problem that we're going to solve. You can solve it any way you want, but write it down. See if you can put down an array like we did last time. That's what we talked about last time. Otherwise, just put the answer down over there on the right. This one doesn't need very much space. That's pretty simple. Basic facts. What's 2 times 4? 2 times 4. Yes, back here. 8. Very good. And if we want to write it as an array, how many rows would this array have? 2 rows, because 2 is our first number. And how many columns? 4. 2 rows of 4. 2 times 4. And then if I put my rows in, there they are. And my columns, there they are. Now this array is one kind of array. This is a closed array. They call it closed, I think, because we have drawn all the rows in and all the columns in, and it looks like all the little squares are closed off and identified. So 2 times 4 is 8, just basic fact knowledge. Or you can take the long route and do what to figure out what the area is of this rectangle. Yes?
Count the squares.
Count each square. Works just fine, just takes a little bit longer. Now write this one down. See if you can come up with that solution. I believe we can. I'm going to draw the array I just did right above it, or, well, here, with my 2 rows of 4 squares each, equaling, we said, 8. So the area of this rectangle is 8 square units, because when you do area, you're figuring out how many squares fit in the shape. Hang on one sec, sir. Now, I'm going to draw a different type of array. Now, our sheets of paper aren't large enough to draw the total number of squares per row, unless we were going to rotate our sheets. You'll understand why. So this type of array, write this down. This is an open array. It will not have any of our, I'm going to focus here. It won't have any of our squares and columns put in. No rows and columns. It's just going to be a rectangle. So we're going to put a side of our rectangle here, and then we'll put our first number, which is 2, and we're going to imagine that there's 2 rows. Then I'm just going to fill in my long rectangle, and I'm going to make it longer because you have to visualize more columns. How many columns would this take up about? How many columns? If I did this problem, how many columns would I have? 2 rows of what?
40.
40. So I put a 40 up here. Now I don't draw any rows or any columns. I don't draw my 2 rows. If I did, they'd be really small. And I don't have 40 squares going across. This is an open array. It's an array using a rectangle for length and width, but it doesn't show the columns or the rows. We don't draw them in. And then we can look at something that we've already done to help us with this one. What are some things you know about 20 times 40 compared to 2 times 4? What are some things you know or can identify? Turn to your neighbor and talk for a minute. What can you tell us about 2 times 40 compared to 2 times 4? What can you tell us? I heard some good things. Anybody? What can you tell us about The difference. What's one thing back there? E?
That was lessons 2 times 4 is 8.
Yeah.
And 40, there's a 0 behind it. So you're just adding a 0 behind it.
So we can add a 0 behind what? The 8, and we'd get how much? 80. That's a simple way to do the answer. Can anybody tell us anything else about 2 times 40 compared to 2 times 4? Is that the only thing you can tell us? Claire?
Just add a 0 to the end.
We just added a 0 to the 4, and we just added a 0 to the 8 to get 80. What else can you tell us? There's one more important thing that you hopefully can notice from this to this. I don't want to say it. Revel?
2 times 4 and times 10.
Say it again.
2 times 4 times 10.
2 times 4 times 10. That's interesting. Now, what do you mean by that? Why 10?
So
Say it again.
so it equals 80.
So it equals 80. So Revel's right on target. It's not quite thinking or using the words I'm thinking of, but yes, you're right, essentially, Revel. 40 is how many times larger than 4, Revel? 10 times larger. This is 10 times larger. The title of our problem string, 10 times more. If this is 10 times more than this, our answer is 10 times more. 10 times 8 equals what? 80. So if you know this next problem is 10 times larger, you can just multiply this answer by 10 to get 80. Or you know that there was a 0 here, so we add a 0 there. It's kind of like on our problems last week. If we double something, if we double a factor, what did we do to the product?
Yeah.
We doubled the product. How many times would this fit into this if it was a life-size array? Yeah. 10 times. So just pretend, folks, that this is one of these. There's 1, 2, 3. They're not going to be equal. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we could fit, if this was smaller, 10 of these in here. And we can count by tens to get what? 80. We can multiply 2 times 40 just to get 80 because we know it. We can add a 0 to the 4. That means add a 0 to the 8, or remember that 40 is 10 times larger than 4. Let's try one more. Draw a line. Good job. Remember, you can move up if you can't see. And if these basic facts are too tough, I apologize. I know, it's early in the morning. What would this array look like? 3 times 6. What would that look like? Right here.
3 high by 6 wide.
3 high by 6 wide. So 3 what's? You're right, 3 high by 6 wide. I'll try that. 1, 2, 3. And by what?
6.
6 wide? Kind of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But what we're working on, that would be 6 wide, or 6 long by 3 wide. That's what, when we're talking about our areas, right? But you're right. So it's 3 what? 3 what of what? What's our language you've been using? This is 3 what? Nope. We have 3 what of what?
3 high.
3 what though? What do I have 3 of?
Oh, units.
Hallie?
Rows.
Rows. I have 3 rows. 1, 2, 3 of 6 squares. 3 rows of 6 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares in each. How many times would this one fit into this one? Draw this array. I'm going to skip the problem and just draw the array. I'm going to make it a little bit wider so you can see it. Here's my array. Who can guess what this array is going to be? 3 by what?
60.
Let's check. 3 by 60. Because the last time I drew one that was 10 times larger. This one seems to be 10 times larger. So if we look at our previous work, we added a 0 to the 8, We added a 0 to the 6, so we could add a what to this answer? What can we add to that answer? Nothing? Yes.
A 0.
A 0. Without doing anything. Or we can look. 3 times 60. 3 times 6 is how much? 18, and add a what? 0. 180. Revel? 60 is how many times larger than 6? 10 times larger. So 6 times 10 is 60. So another way to write that would be this. Get this one down, then we're going to move on. 3 times 60 is equal to. Remember, on the equal symbols in the middle, it's pronounced is equal to. This side is equal to this side. It's like our balance problems. It's equal to 10 times how much?
6.
As an expression, though. You're on the right track. An expression. 10 times what?
6 times
3
3.
times 6. It's like saying 3 times 6 10 times, because this is 10 times larger. Sam, you were right. 10 times 6 is, oh, you said 6? Or did you say 60? You said 60, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a little bit different. One quick thing. Equals 3 times 6 and times 10. Get this written down. I can put it like this without the multiply symbol too. And this would be what? How else could I rewrite that problem? The 3 times 6 is 10. Solve that one time. What would it look like? Do the first step of that expression, and what would it look like? Do the first step of this. What would it change it to? Anyone? Hal? What's the first step in this expression? What do you get? Would be what?
18.
Very good. Times
10.
10. So it's the same thing. And then to solve this, it's easy. Revel, what's 18 times 1?
10. I mean, 18.
18. 18 or 18? 18, and then add what to it?
A 10. I mean,
A what? You're doing good. Help them out. Add a what? Chase.
0.
A 0. No, not an O. That's a letter. Very good.